From the truckload quoting page within TMS, you can create a new shipment to instantly display your historical lane average alongside all of the market-leading rating intelligence tools. In just a few clicks, you can adjust the quote, add your margin, select your quote response template, and email an official quote right off to the customer from the same page. Request a demo today at tie-software.com to find out how TMS can optimize your quoting process.
Welcome back to another edition of Check Call. Today we're covering the wide world of sustainability and the data analytics behind it. Don't forget to subscribe to Check Call, the newsletter, on FreightWaves.com if you haven't already. Before we get into our guest interview, there is some news in the world that you should check out. LG Energy Solutions announced it will build a $5.5 billion battery manufacturing facilities near Phoenix to support both electric vehicles and energy systems. The new facility will be the single largest investment ever in a standalone battery manufacturing complex in North America. LG Energy Solutions' decision to increase investment in cylindrical EV battery production in North America comes from rising demand for EV makers for locally manufactured high-quality, high-performance batteries. The new facility is scheduled to begin production in 2025, mainly for EV makers in North America. LG Energy Solutions also has an EV battery plant in Holland, Michigan. Some of the company's automotive customers include Ford, Honda, and Tesla. Seoul, South Korea-based LG Energy Solutions is one of the largest battery makers in the world. It has 22,000 global employees and factories in South Korea, the US, China, and Poland. This week's donor chart of the show is the van contract initial reporting of average base rate per mile. Contract rates for van loads have fallen they're about 13% over the past year, while accepted load volumes have eroded approximately 11%. This is a dramatic deterioration from annual perspective, but both values are still much stronger than where they were in April of 2019. Contract rates excluding fuel are up 24% versus where they were in 2019, while carriers are hauling 8% more freight on the contracted market. The abundance of capacity is making these figures seem a little unbelievable at the moment, but capacity has arguably grown much more than 8% over the past 4 years. The pure cost of operating a vehicle has probably not grown beyond the 24% mark. The biggest challenge for carriers is not contract rates being too low, but the lack of volume to keep trucks moving. Today we are joined by Alex Schwarm, Head of Data at Arrive Logistics. Welcome back to the show, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
I am very excited about today. We're jumping into sustainability, one of my most favorite things to talk about, and I have a person captured to talk about it with me. But before we jump into that, we know you've been on the show before, but we didn't quite get your background. So why don't you this time give us some background on you and how you got started at Arrive?
Happy to do so. So I've worked in a bunch of different industries in the past, all related to data, all related to data science. Worked in semiconductors, I worked in solar manufacturing, I worked in digital advertising. And really, this opportunity came to me as seeing Arrive growing like a rocket ship, and I wanted to be part of that success. And it's been fantastic meeting all of the experts here and gaining my experience, getting my knowledge in this industry, and finding out how kind of pivotal this industry is to the U.S. economy and to sustainability, which we will talk about. And so I'm super excited to be a part of the team.
I'm excited that you're a part of the team, also just because I feel like you're one of the masterminds behind some of the cool stuff that Arrive comes out with. And, we have David Spencer on all the time for our market intelligence or for our market report. But, we got to switch it up. We got to show some love to the rest of the Arrive team as well.
Thank you.
So I guess just kind of jumping right in, how do you kind of think that 3PL providers can help contribute to a company, a shipper, or their own sustainability goals?
Yeah, I think that there's several different paths. There's some of which that Arrive participates in, some that we're still building, but like optimizing routes, maybe even consolidating shipments. The big one that I think is the key, at least from my perspective, is reducing deadhead, reducing empty miles. But I think the kind of close cousin to that is doing analysis, collecting data, creating sustainability reporting, tracking that improvement that you're seeing over time, and identifying opportunities to further improve in the future.
I think that I think everyone is have a big push to no empty miles and reducing deadhead because, it's just a waste of especially with operating costs so high and spot market rates, not really covering a lot of those operating costs. I think anything that you can do to kind of, make sure that all lengths of your truck or your reload are paid for. I think that's really like the number one key. Also, it's just one of those easier things that, you don't necessarily have to implement this system. You don't have to get this fancy technology. It's just, keeping your drivers happy because they're not really going to complain about it because they're getting more money because they're not running empty. And, it's one of those easier, quick wins that you can get when you're talking about a sustainability goal is just, trying to do some continuous moves. And, it kind of almost like works out better for everyone.
It does. We talked about this a little bit last time. The matching problem, trying to find the best carrier for a given load, and the analysis that's done. There are lots of opportunities to actually put some really powerful data and really powerful algorithms to help to improve that. And that's one of the things that Arrive has focused on, and that's really helped us to. I mean, I think we estimated around 100 million pounds of CO2 saved last year based on looking at our overall deadhead versus the industry average from the American Transportation Research Institute. But I think that there are opportunities, but I think it's a great call out that it is kind of a good first step, and everybody wins, right? Your carrier is more efficient. They get paid better. They have less waste. It's better for the environment. It's better for the shipper. Everyone's happy. So I think it makes sense as like a first step is to start looking at that as a key metric.
Absolutely. And one of the things I think everyone kind of forgets about or doesn't, or just whenever they think of sustainability, it's like all or nothing. You're either all in and you're making all these changes and you're trying to become carbon zero or there's like net zero carbons or whatever, but you can't do that overnight. You kind of have to take these small actionable steps to get there. And I think that's one of the things that, we don't expect results overnight in any other part of a business. Why would we expect it in sustainability goals? And I think that's one of those that everyone kind of forgets about. And, just little steps every day, little improvements. And whether that's, getting drivers to where they want to be or making sure that they have a load that maybe drops off in a perfect world 5 minutes from their house. That's kind of what I think people should be working for is just that better quality of life for everyone, not just the planet, but also that driver, and it's going to make them happier and more likely to return and keep hauling loads for you.
Yeah, and one of the great things about this is it not only solves a problem for the environment, for people's lives, but it's also good business. It saves money, and everybody wants to do that. So we're very lucky to work in an industry that, as we as providers get more efficient, get more capable, it really, especially for companies like Arrive, as we grow, everything gets more efficient because we're able to fill in all those gaps more efficiently, get the right carrier to the right load with the minimal deadhead and the minimal cost.
Absolutely. And, you have to, when you grow and you become more efficient, you can't have a bunch of time and resources wasted on something that's just an antiquated process. But we'll get into improvement in technologies a different day. What is kind of one of that number one thing that you see that really holds shippers back from, reaching some of their goals or even other 3PLs? What's that like number one thing that really holds them back?
I think it comes back to one of the really big things is kind of lack of awareness. Maybe is people think about costs, people think about other metrics that they have, performance metrics. They don't think without somebody else prompting them. They don't think about kind of this industry generates 460 million tons of CO2 every year. Yeah, it's 7% of all U.S. greenhouse gas. You may think 7% is a small number, but it's of everything. So it's a really important contribution. And I would say probably a second thing that kind of is related to that is it's difficult to track. There's no standard definitions for how you measure these things. where are the benchmarks that you compare? It took us a while to find, the right places to go to figure out how do we compare ourselves against the industry. And, the data's good, but it's also a year old. And so I want to see last year's data to compare against, so I think that those kind of combinations of different things makes it, a little bit more difficult for people to kind of put this to the fore and to really think about it.
Absolutely. I mean, I have talked to people that work at shippers that didn't even know that the SEC was possibly going to, require shippers to disclose their emissions. And I'm just like, well, this is something that, like, you are a supply chain manager at a warehouse. How do you not know about this? And I think half of that is just that education component. So I mean, I'm really excited to see what the SEC does to really kind of make it standardization. So that way, you really can compare apples to apples and see where what you're doing in the industry versus, just what everyone thinks that they're tracking right now. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think they're supposed to release their stuff soon. I heard rumors of April, but who knows? Who knows? It could be probably by the end of the year at this point in time.
The other thing that's happening that I've seen a lot is ESG. So environment, social governance has become a real big buzzword for the investment community and for business in general. I mean, the correlations people see in stock performance and business performance overall in terms of top line revenue growth and attracting the top talent, which is a key thing for me, is being able to tell people that you're helping to save the environment and improve our sustainability as a planet and as an industry. It resonates really well with a lot of people. And so these things are becoming more and more important. And so I think that's going to drive a lot of the things that you're talking about, which is how do we measure these things? How do we measure them in a consistent way so that people can assess this and say, are we getting better?
Yeah, it's definitely become, for those who don't see the value in it, it's become such a demand from, especially if you're a business to consumer company. Consumers are demanding that visibility through your supply chain to know maybe how their products are sourced, how ethically they're doing it. And that is something that is not going to change. If anything, those demands are just going to continue to increase because, consumers are 60% more likely to buy something, even if it's more expensive, just because it either has sustainable packaging or it's made in a sustainable way. And it better be actually true about it. Nobody wants any of that greenwashing stuff because it will get found out and you will get put on blast and that will hurt the bottom line. But consumers are, they're voting with their wallets. And the same way with, if you want to attract and retain employees, I'm more likely to go somewhere that has some sustainability goals or something that shows that they're trying to be better and not just, another place of corporate America.
Agreed. And yeah, I've seen this pretty consistently with new hires here at Arrive that especially, people earlier in their career, this is important to them. And so if you don't have that purpose, have that as have sustainability a part of your purpose, then you're missing out. Then you're gonna lose against other people.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's no shortage, or there is a shortage of talented, qualified supply chain professionals. So especially ones with any sort of experience. And I think anything that you can do to get them in the door is great. We keep getting off track down like the hiring road. So what do you kind of think that some of those key components are that companies overlook? Because the biggest objection that I hear is, implementing a sustainability program, program, whatever, it's so expensive and I don't see that return on the investment. But what are some of the, inside those objections, what are some of those, common components that, people might overlook?
Yeah. I think we just talked about some, the bringing in talent, retaining talent, also a lot of the times, at least in logistics, having sustainability goals don't misalign with cost improvements. We just talked about that too. It's, saving money on fuel saves money and it reduces the impact on the environment. The other thing I think that people may talk about, but then have difficulty putting kind of those goals into actions is having the appropriate data. It's hard. We talked about that a few moments ago too. Like where are you comparing yourself against? how do you know how do you know whether you're doing better or worse than most other companies? And then also, what kind of data do you have available, and how expensive is it to collect that data to understand how, what is your performance today? And so I think that those are kind of things that, are kind of hidden costs that people don't really realize immediately. But the benefits, I think, are there in terms of the hidden benefits too, I guess. Retention and then also kind of just from a business perspective and an ESG perspective, being able to say that you have this strategy from a corporate America perspective. People say, okay, you're a good company and you're probably going to do well.
So I think one of the things that, because I mean, data never really lies. We talked about that before, but I think one of the things that everyone kind of forgets is like, okay, we go and track and harvest and like collect all this data for this one initiative, but you can use a lot of that other data that you've collected. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you're going to go develop something. You can say, okay, well, I'm already collecting this information. What else can I use with it? What else can I do to, maybe make another initiative or come up with another solution that's problem solving that then we can then turn and sell to our customers. And, like everyone loves an upsell. It's the easiest way to increase your balance sheet.
I completely agree. And like examples around like reducing, say, idle time and like optimizing loading and unloading, optimizing scheduling to reduce idle time. These are all things that you can collect the data, but it has so many other benefits just beyond sustainability. And so I completely agree. This isn't just a solution to solve one problem. It also enables solving a bunch of other problems that are also important.
100%. I mean, there's a customer loves when you find a problem and bring them a solution before they even know it's a problem. And to me, that seems like the easiest way to retain your customers and stop them from looking anywhere else, is because why would I go look somewhere else when my current logistics provider or my current 3PL is saying, hey, this is a problem for you because it was a problem for us, so it's probably going to be a problem for you. But don't worry, we got a solution. That's it. We have a problem. We brought you the answer. All you need to do is say, sounds good, champ. Keep it up.
Exactly. Yeah. Well said. Well said.
I guess when it kind of comes to that, how important is that transparency and that visibility when kind of tracking some of this data and really just kind of going for those sustainability targets?
Yeah, I think in order to be able to really know where you are, it's really hard to see where you stand and to see how well you're doing unless you have some kind of benchmark, right? And so making sure that we have access to kind of clearly defined definitions and clearly defined data that allows a company to compare themselves against other companies is really critical to be able to have a way for you to judge yourself, but also to give your customers options and understand, okay, what do I want to go after? What are the important metrics that I have from a business perspective? If I'm a shipper, do I have ESG goals that I want to go execute on? How do I find the appropriate partners to go do that? And so that transparency and reporting is a key part of it, but also kind of how do we create these standard definitions, and maybe this SEC thing will help to move that forward. But having those definitions and being able to share that data with shippers so they can make their own judgments about who they want to work with, who they want to prioritize doing business.
I think that kind of that's what I'm hoping comes out of the SEC stuff, more than just like, if like, here's how to prepare this, here's what this number means. I'm really looking for some of those definitions and, some consistency along that. So that way, if I'm as a shipper, I'm comparing apples to apples when I'm going to look for a provider to help me with some carbon emissions tracking or something like that. I don't want to go to provider A that says, oh, we can save you like 1,000 liters of emissions, and then we go over here and this one's like, we can do all of this. Like, you really want that apples to apples comparison. Because right now I feel like it's kind of the wild, wild west, and there are definitely some clear front runners, but some of those front runners aren't necessarily a good option for everyone, just because every business is different and everybody's looking for that like customized approach. Because so everyone's sustainability goals are different.
Right. But you bring up a great point on kind of that standardization. You got to find a way to compare apples to apples. And if you need to translate your apples into pears, go for it. But then at least everyone has the same data to pull from to be able to make those assessments and make those judgments.
100%. And then I guess, what is your biggest piece of advice to someone that's just kind of starting to, maybe they've set some sustainability goals and now they're looking to maybe go work with a partner to achieve some of those? What's the best piece of advice you have?
I think I would start, I know you're shocked that the data guy would say this, collect data.
No, the head of data says collect data?
And start with kind of a foundation of understanding kind of something, because you can estimate everything, right? You may not have all the data that you need, but you can start somewhere, and then go to your leadership and find out, is this a priority? And I'm going to guess in a lot of places it is, and it's just not, people don't know what to do. And so if you come with something that isn't a blank sheet of paper, but hey, I did this analysis, this is how much I think we're emitting with our partners, for these lanes, for this work, et cetera. I think that if we could reduce this even by a few percentage points, that would be dramatic. And so, and that's probably true pretty much at every company.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem now is just like everyone knows it needs to get done. They just don't know where to start. So they just need someone to start. Like they just need someone to kick the ball down the hill or across the street to then keep it moving.
Yeah, and you can go on EPA.gov. They have like how many pounds of CO2 is equal to burning a gallon of diesel. You can take your number of miles, they could take and if anybody wants to send me a LinkedIn message and ask me for the specific numbers, I'm happy to share.
All right. Well, before we tell everyone where they can find you, there is, as a returning guest on the show, we already know where you stand on hot dogs. This time, I'm going to need your best dad joke.
Best dad joke. Well, I think my dad, his favorite thing to say when I said, "Dad, I'm hungry," his answer would be, "Nice to meet you, hungry. My name is Steve."
It's a classic. It's a classic that I feel like every dad has to say at least once a year throughout their life.
I agree. I will also add a corollary. My best mom joke would be, "Hey, Mom, can I have a sandwich?" And she would say, "Poof, you're a sandwich."
I like that one. All right. So if anyone wants the hot goss, then the numbers to calculate their carbon emissions, if they just say, "Alex, help, I don't know what I'm doing, I need help," where can they find you?
I can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Alex Schwarm. You can, I think that I'm the only one that has linkedin.com/in/Alex Schwarm. So I think you can find me easily.
Awesome. Well, you guys heard it here first. Alex's DMs are open. I'm sure he would take a dad joke or two in addition to any sustainability questions you might have for him. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it.
Find Check Call the Podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to check out all the other incredible FreightWaves podcasts, such as At Your Doorstep and Put That Coffee Down. Don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter on freightwaves.com/checkcall. See you on the internet.